Hello, is the Awake and Brave here? I'm just enjoying myself. I'm drinking a beer and I've just been playing some music and I was answering comments and I saw a comment pertaining to one of my old videos over a year ago when I've got long normal hair, and it said R.I.P. Awakened Brave. Rest in peace, motherfucker. And I'm like, oh, sounds interesting. Don't remember what I was saying there. So I've listened to the video. And he said in the video something about being present. And just, fuck it. Conspiracy theories and they're doing this and they're doing that and all the trappings of the ego. And I'm like, I'm out of it. And I'm walking in the woods. And I'll show you the video. So, but mostly my angle is spiritual. Because that's the only game. It's how I'm crafting my soul, my spirit. Because from what I've been led to understand, I can take that knowledge with me, and that helps me to climb up the rungs on this universal cosmic ladder of consciousness. Wow, this guy seems pretty deep. Climb up the rungs of the universal cosmic ladder. What the fuck? Who is that dude? Looking all weird, with fucking hair and beard, in the woods alone? Who does that? Who does that? So anyway, I've been meaning to read my book again. So I went over, and this is the original title. The new title is called A Journey to the Self. And I pulled it from the bookcase and I opened it, and it said this. It says, be here now. And so I'm like, by the time we have made the spiritual transition, we have become pretty centered and present. The age-old adage of be here now, made famous by the American guru Richard Alpert Akar Ram Das in the 1970s, is a mental state that we have become very accustomed to being in. It's all about being present and eliminating our random, destructive, unwanted thoughts that prevent us from having a relationship with God, which is to say, our inner selves. If we are not present with a clear mind and a still heart, then we cannot know God. You see, look, this book, it's got these highlights of lots of short, little, poignant pointers to life. This one here, it says, is intuition our portal to communicate with God? When I'm speaking about God, people, I'm speaking about the higher self, I'm speaking about cosmic consciousness. You'll grasp that when you read the book, if you ever do. Once we become very centered, present, and in the now, we acquire a deeper relationship with that cosmic phenomenon, intuition. Intuition becomes our new go-to whenever we want the answers to our questions, which invariably cannot be answered by our logic and our reasoning. Maybe if our questions are of an existential variety, they could never be answered at all by our logic and our reasoning ability. If this is the case, and it certainly seems to be, we must look towards another avenue for our answers. Intuition might very well be the language of God and may very well provide us with the answers that elude our rational cognition so defiantly. To some of you, most of you probably, they'll just be words. And they won't touch you, they won't mean anything to you, they won't grip you. But if you have travelled a path, or if you are travelling a path, and you're on it, and you're in it deep, then you might be very inspired by words like that. Because what happened in my life, people, I got to a point whereby I was deeply rooted in my cognitive process, over intellectualizing everything. And when I was studying the deepest of spirituality and religion, I'm like, I can't penetrate what is being said here with the cognitive facility that I am seeking it with. Why can I not do that? Because spirituality and things pertaining to religion don't pertain to logic and reason. The Matrix pertains to logic and reason. So I had an aha moment, and I said, well, I have to absolutely drop this cognition, this incessant philosophizing and examining and inspecting and dissecting and all those things, because spirit cannot be touched by those things. And so I started to realize that, well, if our cognition and our brain cannot discern the numinous, then what can? Lots of people speak about the spiritual and the numinous. So if we are at a loss with our cognitive ability, well, what other avenue and portal do we have at our hands, at our disposal? And so it dawned on me, well, in my life I've been pretty intuitive. And when you awaken, you do become more and more intuitive. And I said to myself, well, maybe I'll just set aside all that rational application, and I will just go along with how I'm feeling, so-called from the heart. We don't feel from the heart, apparently. Scientists will say that that's a misnomer. It's just one of those things that occurred through years ago, people writing about this, that and the other, and speaking about the heart, because when we are fearful, when we are emotional, when we are, in love and all these sort of things, well, our heart can miss a beat, and it can pump furiously, and it gives us these signals of activity within our breast. And like, if we're in love and we start to, the heart palpitates and this and the other. And so it was sort of like coined that the love is responsible, or the heart is responsible for the emission of love, the creation of love. But of course it isn't the case. And so it stuck. And now it seems more romantic to say, I'm speaking from the heart, and, my heart, it bleeds for you, and all these things, when it's all misnomers, all nonsense. It's just the brain, it's just consciousness doing all these things. But then we're relating it to that down there, and we get a pretty little shape for it. And I was just looking into the history of this. Where does this pretty little shape come from? The heart. And it's, 1300s or something. Someone just, I think it was Saint Valentine. Saint Valentine just was speaking about some of this stuff. And, he decided to draw a picture like that. Instead of a picture of the original or existing heart shape, which doesn't look very pleasant at all, does it? And then there was speculation, well, in that time, maybe they didn't know what the heart looked like. Well, I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did. But, you know, things stick like that. But the intuition, people, takes us into another dimension, a parameter of consciousness. And with intuition, if you stay in your intuition and out of your egoic consciousness, you can delve into whatever supernatural phenomenon that you desire, because it's all on tap via the intuition. And I say here, intuition might very well be the language of God, and may very well provide us with the answers that elude our rational cognition so defiantly. When you've got people like Richard Dawkins, who's so left-brain, and you've got people like Sam Harris, also left-brain, they don't come close to discerning the full nature of the cosmos, because they are bereft of the spirit. And Richard Dawkins could never in a billion years accept that there's something called spirit. He's never known it. And so I go on to write several more pages about intuition. And so I'll just read a little bit here. Intuition speaks to our highest states of consciousness by completely bypassing our cognitive process. Scientific substantiation of the phenomena of intuition is something that we could never prove concretely as being a thing, even though it pertains to compelling feelings and mysteriously incalculable, unreasoned thoughts. We get downloads, don't we? We feel intuitive about something. It's a portal and language to God, people. How else do we answer questions about the supernatural if our cognitive reasoning facility fails us so readily? Logic and science also fails us miserably, and so where else do we look? What other point of access do we have that can enable us to reach higher levels of communication? It seems that intuition is the only language that we can communicate with the cosmos and its creator. How do we increase our ability to think intuitively? We build a relationship with intuition via our meditation practice. Let us look a little closer at what this challenging concept is. Intuition is said to be a noun, meaning it is a thing. If it is a thing, it is independent of other things. Aaron is my name, which is also a noun. Intuition and Aaron, me, consciousness are seemingly independent things that via consciousness have a relationship. So independent Aaron, independent intuition, it's a noun, but I have a relationship with intuition, so there's a certain oneness to that, right? Aaron is conscious. Consciousness is a noun also. Via the consciousness Aaron uses, his consciousness can work with intuition because intuition is a facet of consciousness. Similarly, as a concept, it is little understood, the same as consciousness. So I'm like, wow, intuition, nobody knows anything about it. Consciousness, nobody knows anything about it. They're both supposed to be nouns and separate, and yet they're within me. I am them. So they can't be separate, right? The cosmos is within consciousness, as is all things perceived via consciousness. Nothing perceivable is outside of consciousness, so everything we can ever experience or imagine is within consciousness, right? Intuition is described in various dictionaries as either a gut feeling, an instinct, or a sixth sense. We need to investigate further to discover what exactly intuition is. We have said that intuition is a noun, a feeling is also a noun, the gut is a noun, and our sixth sense is described in the dictionary as a noun. So everything we are looking at in this investigation are all nouns, all supposedly separate things. We are independent from each other in their own right as words. So there they are, concepts and things. So this is where we get deceived, you see, people. Because everything is supposed to be separate, when in actual fact nothing is separate. Nothing at all is separate. What I'm alluding to here is this. All of these nouns are separate from all the others, according to the dictionaries listing them as all being different things. An idea is also a noun. Intuition is also an idea. An idea is also a thought. Thoughts, ideas, consciousness, God and intuition are inseparable. And yet they are nouns and supposed to be things in their own right and have an integrity to themselves. All of the above are not material, corporeal entities, even though they are said to be things that have their own existence. They are all just ideas and thoughts firing in our brain, which is ultimately consciousness. To this day, human beings do not know what consciousness is or where it comes from. I'm really interested in this. And I wrote this, and I thought it, and I coined it, and I invented it, and I compiled it together. I've never read anything like this, which is investigating stuff like this. This is the genius of the awakened brave. Intuition seems to me to be another form of the indecipherable consciousness that cannot be explained or categorized remotely. Consciousness isn't, by any stretch of our imagination, adequately understood by scientists, nor is the notion of God. But both God and consciousness seem to me to be inseparable, in that they are both outside the realm of knowledge. That is, if we only use our cognitive intelligence to investigate them. But both of these hugely misunderstood concepts make a lot more sense when we use our intuition as antennae, receivers, to tune in to the language of God. Wow, tell me more, Awakened Brave. So far we have understood that the path or way to communicate with God is to become as pure as possible via our thoughts and actions. Meditation is a must. If we are not going to quieten our minds to the degree where we can hear God communicating with us via our subtle intuition and clear open minds, once we have done that, then at some stage some of us begin acquiring a heightened awareness of spirit, God, in the natural world. Nature becomes a translator by which God speaks to us. Like Rumi says, Rumi, the sophist poet, he said silence is the language of God and everything else is fake. Hitherto we have discerned that those three related concepts are entirely indecipherable from one another, and at the same time are all very relevant to people seeking a connection with God. God is one of the four mysteries in question: spirit, intuition, God and consciousness. Hypothetically, if this was a crime investigation and those four concepts were all suspects, we should immediately arrest them and bring them in for questioning. We could charge them with aiding and abetting each other with the crime of conspiring to awaken humanity from their somnambulism. So with these things, spirit, intuition, God and consciousness, what do they do? Who are they? Where are they? What is their game? What are they trying to do, people? They're trying to awaken humanity. Spirit, intuition, God and consciousness. They're all the same thing, people. They're all the same thing. And once we put aside our ego, we enter into this realm. And it's beautiful, it's incredible. So God is spirit, which is consciousness, and uses intuition as the communication portal between himself and awakened humans. Without intuition, we could not hear God. or have a relation with him, it. But with intuition we hear, see and feel him, it, everywhere in the natural world and within ourselves. Truly I say unto you, the kingdom of God is within you all, and yet you do not see. This is very much related to the Tao Te Ching, which I will discuss in greater detail in the chapter on Buddhism. When our light is switched on, let us use a simple illustration to describe what happens when we begin to intuit that God exists. If we accept through our experience that the mysterious and little understood intuition is our communication line to God, then as soon as we tap into our intuition, then faith, that fake portal to God, becomes redundant in an instant. Faith is blind and can only be considered somewhat valuable to some folk as a comforting delusionary mentalism and a false knowledge of God. People can never know God through their faith. Faith serves the fool as a tool to hypothesize to hypnotize themselves with and create a fake fantasy reality of knowing God. Faith is just belief. Oh, I believe. Belief doesn't get you anywhere. Knowledge gets you somewhere. Experience gets you somewhere. People with intuition combined with spirit and consciousness, that's when you know God, because that is God and you are God. So intuition is the real deal and makes faith obsolete in a flash. Intuition and meditation will take you directly to God. No Bibles or churches are necessary. In fact, you will be wasting your time with both of those things unless you engage your inner self with meditation and intuitively communicating with the essence of who you are. Your essence is cosmic God consciousness, which can only be discovered in meditation or via intuition, not in churches or Bibles. I've read enough. This book, people, is really, it truly is the world's first spiritual Bible. If people are intelligent enough, spirited enough, open to their intuition and consciousness, then this book is an absolute must. And it doesn't matter to me personally whether you buy it or not, because I only earn less than £5 per copy, because it takes a lot to produce, and just the postage of this heavy thing costs £5 within the UK. And so I have sent books, these books, to other countries like Ireland and Amsterdam, and they've cost me £18 each, and then they've cost £18 on the receiving end. The postage is, as much as the cost of the book. So if you are readers, even if you're not, most people can be intimidated by this book of this magnitude. But you see, it's all given. Is God a chemical produced in our brain? Oh my God. You read that and open up your minds. For those of you that think God is up the sky and it's Allah or it's Yahweh, don't be buying this book. Don't even be watching my videos, because you're fools and you've got no idea what's going on here in relation to this existence. You've been brainwashed and you're fast asleep. So people, this book, I've of course I read it in its entirety when it was printed. And I've read it and I've read it and read it, and it took me 8 months solid to write it every single day. For 5 hours a day I was at this computer writing and amending and doing all that. I edited this book myself, and when I read through it there was less than 10 spelling mistakes. It's very, very well written. It's as simple to read as possibly could be for such esoteric, deep subject matter. It's a fucking tremendous book, and one day when it gets in the right hands, this will be a world's bestseller. Anyway, you will make your minds up what you're going to do from here on. Goodbye.